Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and remember, context is everything. Media Network founder and CEO John Michael is watching a television show. This television show is Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks is my favorite TV show, and I've watched it 20 times. This is the 21st time I'm watching it, and as I watch for the 21st time, I'm watching with the intention of noting down all of the details that I like about the show. These details are not story based necessarily. These details are maybe writing style, dialogue, themes, or maybe even just little nuances in the acting performance. Not spoilers. Watch the episode, watch my episode. Watch season 1, episode 7, the season finale. Watch this afterwards, and you get a little bit more details of things that I find to be charming after watching the show 21 times. Here we go. First one, at 2 minutes and 55 seconds, as James and Donna are intruding in Dr. Jacoby's home. They are looking for clues. They look in the coconut. Why does he have a coconut? Weird. James Hurley says the word. Weird. And I like the way he says it. I've started to use it in my daily conversation when somebody says something that I don't know how to respond to. I'll just say, weird. Because sometimes people say things that really are hard to reply to because they're so bizarre. I do. I know. So I find it to be a good response. And just a great line. It's so simple. Right? You don't got to reinvent the wheel. We're talking. We're just talking. At the end of this scene, Bobby Briggs, as James and Donna are riding off on the motorcycle, does this. That was Bobby Briggs killing James Hurley by framing him and getting him in trouble with the cops. That's it. He said, I'll kill him. I'm going to kill him. Too bad you can only kill him once. That was him killing him. I'm guessing. It just seems like he's not actually going to kill him, but that's what he would do. Frame him. The scenes in One-Eyed Jacks at 11 and 11. I think that these are aesthetically really gorgeous scenes in One-Eyed Jacks here, while Dale Cooper is talking to Jacques Renault, a prime suspect here. One thing that Jacques says that sticks with me when he's recounting the story of what had transpired the evening of Laura's murder. As he's telling the story, it gets a little bit more the setting, the sound, the cinematography gets a little bit more intense as he tells the story. And he ends it by saying, "Bite the bullet, baby. Bite the bullet." And it's zoomed in on his teeth. And it is effectively unsettling for the tone. And I just think it's really well done and makes you feel some type of way. You also hear Dale Cooper as he's talking. He has a wire on. He's wearing a wire, as they describe in the previous episode without saying it, but by demonstrating it. He signals to the jury and the judge. In the story, he interjects to let Jacques acknowledge that he's talking about Laura Palmer. So he interjects and says, Laura and Ronette, talking about the girls. So that's him. That's Dale Cooper doing his due diligence so that the jury and the judge can hear the full story and know who we're talking about. Now, I didn't make a timestamp for the bust of Jacques Renault, but I really do appreciate the talk of fish at about the 14-minute mark. Yeah, the trout's headed upstream and we'll be there when we fry 'em. That kind of thing. They just do it back and forth, Hawk and Sheriff Truman, at about the 14-minute mark. And it's a little bizarre and a little ridiculous to the point of it's kind of funny by the time they finish describing the things regarding the trout. Like, they're so talking in code that it's almost obvious what they're talking about, but I like it. And then right after that, Let's go. Let's just fast forward here. No cut. Let's just go there. At 16 minutes and 40 seconds, let's go to 16 minutes and 40 seconds here. We are listening to Laura's tape. Now, this is pretty key. At 16:40, first you hear, obviously, James hears the very unsettling things. Everyone hears the very unsettling things that Laura has to say, aside from the fact that she calls James dumb. But I really like at the end of this, James tries to really pull it together. He says, we can say we know. Dr. Jacoby, he didn't kill her. He was trying to help her. Put a seal on it. And then Donna looks at him and says, but how did he get the necklace? So they resolved one thing. This was a big conflict. This was like an episode and a half conflict for this group. Maddie, Donna, and James met at the Double R Diner like an episode and a half ago, or maybe just last episode, to say we have to find this tape and find this necklace in Dr. Jacoby's place. They do it, and immediately at the end of the scene, Donna opens up their next story plot, thinking, this is not resolved. There's still more to resolve. But how did he get the necklace? And then they move on. So it gives you the next plot point, and I like that. At 20 minutes and 25 seconds, please subscribe if you're still watching. My name's John Michael at the Context is Everything Media Network. Thank you. And please like if you're enjoying. At 20 minutes and 25 seconds, while Hank is talking to Josie, Josie's taking drags off of her cigarette. When he says something that is particularly unsavory to Josie, I forget what exactly it is, but it's okay. Josie responds to his question by blowing smoke in his face. In Hank's face. Hank inhales the smoke that she blows in his face very intentionally. It's not an accident. He is intentionally doing it. And her response to his question was blowing smoke in his face. And he just continues talking as if it was her reaction to what he said. Watch it again. It's a good little interaction. This scene is also so long-winded that when I first saw it, I didn't quite get it, but I did like this moment when Hank had horns, just by way of the shot. So I didn't quite know what was going on, but I did like that the shot in the cinematography. He has antlers, so that's a good scene. There is so far a distance between Catherine and Pete Martell, but when Catherine asks for Pete's help, this hug is excellent. A profound hug at 20 minutes and 25 seconds. You can see Catherine first go from, oh God, to a little bit of a hug with some taps. An ABC hug. And I think that it's really well acted by a really good actress, but it's just really engaging. This next scene here is also excellently done, because here there's some great storytelling when Hawk and Big Ed are telling the story, kind of like an AB, giving one voice, giving another voice, about Andy saving Sheriff Truman by shooting Jacques Renault. Great storytelling. And great use of attention, seeing like how they're drifting their eyes, because they're trying to make, aside from just telling the story, they're trying to make Andy look good for why am I forgetting your name? How am I forgetting your name? For Lucy. And so you can see like Hawk looking at Lucy as he's saying something, like glancing over to her, and it's really good. It's just a great scene. They kiss, and her first words out of her mouth are, I'm pregnant. And so the tension continues, but now it's tension in a bit of a different way. Definitely a theme that I'm going to be watching in this viewing. We're back in the Double R Diner here at 31 minutes and 31 seconds. Hank Jennings at his finest. Hank Jennings is a really well-trained liar. pretty much every scene that you see him in, he's acting and lying a little bit. Because you know from pretty much the get-go that he's got criminal intentions. He steals like a lighter after he says something like, hey, learned a lot. Hopefully Big Ed and Norma or hopefully Pete and Norma are doing well. Thank him for all the help. It was Big Ed. He's like, Big Ed. You can see that he's not a fully reformed man. He still has some bad streak in him. It's made pretty evident so far. When he's talking to Norma here, you can kind of hear him acting and trying to show that he's changed. And he tells this story about, I was laying in bed all the time and, I couldn't help thinking about you in your big feather bed. But before he says that, he says a great line. He's saying, when you're in the joint, when you're in the can, when you're in jail, you're laying on your small bed. It's about this thick, your bed cushion. But you keep thinking to yourself, how did they get all those rocks in there if it's so thin? And it's just a great, great scene. He's very manipulative. He's a pretty good liar. He admits to truth. He admits to true faults of his own immediately after lying about something else to kind of misdirect. So it's good for the viewer to watch because it's entertaining. In this moment here, 35 minutes and 25 seconds, James Hurley walks into the sheriff's department and Dale Cooper says, I'm going to talk to James. Harry, you handle this. And Harry, you can see he's a bit frustrated. You don't see it very often, but here you can see it, that he's a bit frustrated that he's playing Watson rather than Sherlock, as he says earlier in the season. So it's an interesting little moment to see him frustrated. Then you have Leland Palmer saying, hospital? Which he's going to go in a minute and do something that is unadvisable legally, even though he's a lawyer. Catherine Martell enters the wood building with all the wood and the fire and Shelley Johnson. There's a fire here. Catherine Martell sees the fire. She's been lured here, or Hank has told her to go here. Hank being somebody who's trying to sabotage the plot of this, that, and the other. Or maybe he's trying to... I'm actually not even sure what he's trying to do. But Catherine gets here. She frees Shelley Johnson with an axe, and a fire is occurring. Let's keep an eye on that fire and that axe. He's going to free Shelley Johnson from a fire with an axe. So fire and axe, fire and axe. Keep that in mind here. At 40 minutes. Fire and axe. Immediately leaving the scene, if we can just bear for a second here, the thing that leaves the scene, the transition point, is the pulling of a fire alarm by the gentleman in the hospital, who we're going to find out who that is in a second. Pulling of a fire alarm from directly from a scene where fire is occurring is a little thematic transition that is not even that subtle. It's just a appropriate transition, even though we're going from one totally exclusive story point to a totally exclusive story point. These things don't have too much to do with each other. The fire in the shed doesn't have much to do with Jacques Renault getting suffocated by, who we'll find out in a second, is Leland Palmer. Fire, fire. Right? You see what I'm saying? Fire, fire. And so we're going to see that this is Leland Palmer in a second, after the trout takes a final breath. Leland Palmer, there you go. And the next scene immediately after that is, well, back at the fire. But we're still kind of right there, Where is it? Then it goes to, I guess we're one at Jack's. But either way, fire to fire. Catherine Martell frees Shelley Johnson with an axe. And then we go to, wait a minute. Where is this? Did that happen before? I guess it did happen before. Let me go back a little bit. So, bear with me for 1 second here, because the fire and the fire thing is great. It's a nice little detail. Before that, is that right before that? Oh, yeah, okay. So I kind of messed up a little bit, but the scene right before the fire with Catherine Martell and Shelley Johnson, Leo Johnson has an axe, and he's gonna kill Bobby with an axe. So axe to kill Bobby in the next scene is axe to free Shelley. And in that next scene, it's fire to burn the woodshed and kill Shelley, to fire alarm at the hospital. It's just, one thing to the next scene, and then one thing to the next scene. Pair. That's what it is. That's what I'm saying. I thought it was interesting. A little long-winded, I admit it. And then as we move forward, you'll get a little corridor-to-corridor nice shot at 43 minutes and 45 seconds. Not really too much to talk about in it. It's just a nice shot from corridor to corridor. Very disturbing moment here as Audrey Horne's in the brothel, and the mystery owner who's about to enter and who doesn't know who she is and she doesn't know who he is yet is going to enter in, and it's going to be a sort of a corridor effect as you're seeing here. This is like a corridor from a visual perspective. It looks like he's walking down a hall, which fades into Agent Cooper walking down a hall, corridor to corridor at 43 minutes and 45 seconds. And as we approach the end of season 1 here, at 45 minutes on the nose, let's go there. 45 minutes on the nose, 3 things happen at once. And I can attest to being distracted by simple things happening all at once. He enters his dwelling, the Agent Cooper does. He's reading this note, so he has one thing on his mind. My special agent. One thing on his mind. He has a phone call. 2 things on his mind. And this is a frantic phone call from Andy Brennan in the sheriff's department. 2 things on his mind, right? 3 things on his mind. The door just knocked. 3 things on his mind. This puts you in a bit of a whirlwind. He's obviously a professional, but in the world when he gets shot, you get the idea. I hope you have a lovely day, folks. And if you enjoyed this content, if you made it this far, and if you find this useful in your Twin Peaks viewing experience, please subscribe for the love of God. God bless. Goodbye.